Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have this track by an act named Lotus Bomb titled Get Money. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on YouTube and we're going to be listening through this track today from start to finish. Apparently it's the official animated video GTA edition with GTA roleplay, so that's cool. Let's get into it. Let's go.
Don't leave your man around me, true play for real. Ask a nigga for real.
Fuck bitches, get money, money, money. Fuck niggas, get money, money, money.
So I mean, obviously this isn't for kids. You know, there was actually an age-restricted rating on this video before I opened it up on YouTube, but I like that really simple melody's kind of dope.
Fuck bitches, get money, money, money. Fuck niggas, get money, money, money.
Bad chick way above the average, stacking all this cabbage. I need extra baggage. I'm what they call full package. One code get you clapped quick. All my bitches got me, just know I ain't gotta act shit. When I pop up money for a pocket chubby, never small. Never catch us window shopping, hit them more than leave it all. Never slacking on that line when that money cold. Always packing bags up, move to get your cash up. Bitches
Like
talking
with the
drip,
drums.
me I'm talking chip. Money talk, don't give a fuck
Decent
about
vocal
shit
flow.
that don't flip. All I want is dollar signs and reach when I grip. I don't need your chump change, you can keep all that shit.
It sounds like we're anticipating the beat a little bit, like the words are coming a little bit ahead of the rest of the instrumental. I think the flow's good, the rapping's good, and it's a compelling theme.
I want some amps, you could keep all them tips. I want the treat, you could keep all them tricks. Them haters licking, got them moving their lips. But they know it's fucked them while I'm stacking these bricks. Ain't no need to brag, 100 trip the bag. Stuntin' when I pass, never coming last. Keep that foot up on the gas. Get into it fast, haters getting mad.
Fuck bitches, get money, money, money.
That's what they all say.
Fuck niggas, get money, money, money.
2050's cool, but I
So I said
rather
the bass
blue
come out this
faces.
point.
I don't beg for money, motherfucker, I chase it. Never biting styles, cause I'm the one who lay shit. Never going dry, I'ma show you how this cake flips. There's only one rule, stick to the bread. Like mother, couple days after watch it spread. Dead presidents here collecting all the heads. Stop thumbing through these stacks till my fingers red. Bitch, I take trips, only for the chip. Watch me hold on to the bag, I see you losing your grip. Every dollar's kinda watching comic skip. Money raining heavy, I ain't even stripped.
I mean, like, there's a lot of variety to the way that it's produced and performed in regards to not necessarily the main motif, those constant arpeggios that go between low and high notes, but it's more like just the way that the bass comes in and there's like the claps, the kind of builds there, and the various sort of trap and sort of hip hop rap drum beats there, you know, with the focus on the kicks, snares, and cymbals. A few rises occasionally, you know, those back end vocals, hey, those parts there on the sides there, nice use of the stereo field.
We here for that dinner table full of winners. And everybody here hungry for them figures. My zodiac a dollar sign, get with the picture. If you ain't talking money, I ain't fucking with you.
Fuck bitches, get money, money, money. Fuck niggas, get money, money, money. Fuck bitches, get money, money, money. Fuck niggas, get money, money,
I
money.
heard that's what they all say.
Lotus Bomb. I mean, great. Again, great use of the stereo field. We got da-da-dun-dun-dun kind of rolling around that way. I think that's really cool. There's a lot to appreciate in here in terms of the production value of it, but we're going to get into the conclusion now to elaborate on the rest. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from Lotus Bomb titled Get Money. What do I think this track is about? I think this track is about someone who is obviously in this GTA roleplay here, because this isn't the first time I've reviewed a GTA roleplay track, and it's usually a good time. I did really, you know, I do really appreciate the story there of that kind of getting that bag, you know, the fuck bitches get money stuff. Not necessarily because I absolutely subscribe to it, but it's more because I think that it's such a common trope nowadays that it's almost kind of refreshing to have it done in like a role-playing sort of respect, you know. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, those themes in rap and hip-hop and the sort of trap music and other related stuff. But it works. It's relatable. A lot of people can kind of relate to that, wanting to kind of get that bag and find success and not letting other people sort of get you down or distract you from your goals and ambitions. Like you're there at the end of the track where you just kind of go into the bank there and sitting down and watching the screen and all that and kind of finding peace within that. It was good. It was obviously like the story was very, very intense there visually. You know, not that I'm like a child or anything like that. I'm not going to pretend that like it's maybe suitable for everyone, but I think that for like adult audiences, it's probably fine. It's kind of carnal interests and everything like that. And yeah, it goes par for par with that kind of the no fucks given, goal, ambition, drive, hustle kind of thing. It's cool. I think that outside of that, really, the story came together rather eloquently within the 2.5 minutes, despite the kind of crass bravado to it. And it was well told, and I could associate it well within the game that it was in, GTA 5, and that's fine. I mean, the vocal style there was solid. The words came through clearly. There was decent vocal technique there. We didn't do a lot of sort of like crazy stuff with the melodies or anything like that, but I don't think we needed to. We had an amount of range there that kind of allowed us to how do I describe it? It allowed us to sort of like there were simple vocal melodies that we had there, but it was mostly sort of like about the rhythm, the groove, the pace and the phrasing of those start lines within those verse stanzas. But the attitude there, the swagger that we had there, that almost kind of like the bragging about how successful we are, those stacks, etc. That kind of attitude there made a lot of sense with the story. So that's good. I could understand how the vocal style matched the tale that was being told there. There was a connection there. I think additionally, with the track at like 2.5 minutes, it was nice and short. It was kind of like popcorn, right? And you had a combination of various instruments there, like I said, that kind of like synthy kind of, almost like a melodic percussion kind of thing going on there, with the filtered vocals over top there, ushering in that hook line with the risers and the claps, and then we got the basses and the drums and a lot of the instruments which kind of suit the theme really, really well. It was relatively empty there in the mid-range. We had a lot of sub-elements there, and the vocals, because there was a sense of emptiness there or space within the arrangement, the vocals were very, very present in the mix. There weren't a lot of elements within that mid-range to kind of argue with the rapper, and I think that was actually a smart move there. We had backing vocals going to the sides of the arrangement occasionally to highlight certain elements there, and I think that was good just for a bit of variation. We developed the track carefully despite the fact that it was short. We didn't take the listener's attention for granted, and I think that there was enough variation between the various elements there, and taking instruments away and putting them back in, etc., that allowed us to kind of get to the finish line relatively smoothly. I think that in addition to that, we have a situation where the theme itself kind of sounded proud of itself. It had a sense of self-pleasure to it. It was not afraid of hearing, it didn't care about what you thought. It had a real sense of manner about it. And I think that couple that with the vocal performance and the story that's being told, with those really sort of simple rolling on the root note authoritative kind of concepts there musically, there's a great sort of sense of synergy between the elements. And I think that the fact that we took away the bass and drums sometimes and brought the back end was enough to keep variation, to keep people engaged there. We didn't really stray away too far from the initial instantiated motif there with the da-da-da-da-da-da-das. And we didn't need to, because it was short enough to get away with not having another massive change. And I suppose as a final note before we go into the studio recording, mixing and mastering, if you're going to have one theme done throughout a song without much adjustment to the bass line or anything like that, you really cannot get away with not having that amount of variation within the layering of the track. You need to adjust those layers, because if it's just the same all the time, the same perceived loudness, listener will turn off. We didn't have that situation here. And I know I talked about anticipating the vocals a bit, previously, like during the review, that the vocals were maybe coming in a little bit more quickly than like the rest of the instruments and stuff like that. But I think if anything, they add sort of a sense to pace to it, as if we are trying to get our sort of like final words in and kind of let the person know how successful we are. That intensity there is welcome, especially when a lot of the other elements either are consistent when they appear, or maybe it's the balance. I don't know how to describe it, but it's something I'll think about for the rest of the day. But I mean, finally, the recording, mixing, mastering, the studio production is tight. I'm really happy with it. I think that we performed well. Obviously Lotus Bomb would get money. They sound like they're an experienced musician. They've got time on the mic and it's clean. And the vocals are nice and present, not only with the main sort of double track parts when there weren't sort of like the normal sort of verse vocals or the side panned kind of call and response bits that were going on there occasionally near the second half of it. But also just again the drums being nice and controlled and tight, punchy with the range of sort of claps and snares and kicks and hi-hats, but also the bass being nicely controlled and sidechained by aforementioned percussion. But still being really resonant in the low end, with that melody kind of sitting in the center there, and then any other sort of synth pads or other elements of sub layers kind of helping to give the song a bit of depth. And I think things were nicely balanced in the frequency spectrum. There were no resonant frequencies, and the leveling was good. And things were nice and wide in the stereo field. We had lots of. We also had automation, I think, with some of the elements there. Maybe some of the vocal elements or some of the other synth layers there. That's something I forgot to mention. Automation of the position in the stereo field, which was really cool. Because you follow it when you're listening to it. You follow it from left to right, and I think that makes it more kind of engaging because it's unpredictable and it's like, oh, that's fancy stuff. Outside of that though, with the things leveled well, nice and wide in the stereo field and all that kind of stuff, you just got dynamic range still. Things weren't the same seed loudness all the time. There was room for breathe within the track itself. There was ceiling to it that wasn't being battered by the limiting compressor, but it was still nice and loud without pumping. I mean, effectively, this is my review of Lotus Bomb's track Get Money, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time. I think to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.